welcome to everyone who just hopped in. We have 20 minutes together, sadly only 20 because the topic that I'm talking about today is one that I love to geek out about on all of the time. So my name is Dr. Nicole Tschierske. I'm a scientist by training, but since a few years now, I focus more on the people side of things at work. So doing change management in my corporate job, and then on the side, I have a coaching practice where I focus specifically on women in science, tech, engineering, and so on. And what I help them do is what we're going to talk about today, which is attracting new opportunities. And with that, let me jump right in. So I'm going to be switching between my my slide screen and my chat screen. So I will check back in on occasion in case you have any questions. Please just let me know. Okay, so yes, attracting new opportunities. What is this all about? So basically, when we look at the statistics, it seems like the odds are stacked against us. Women are outnumbered by men, first at uni, then in many workplaces, especially the more you advance in your career, the less women you see. And therefore, women are often also outnumbered in meetings. Another thing that has been observed is actually statistically is that women in STEM are more likely to leave their field. And in many workplaces, we find cultures that favor men. And I'm sure all of you can relate to this with a million stories that you experience day in and day out. Another number that I find interesting that illustrates this difference or this how the odds seem to be stacked against us is that the pay gap in terms of our salaries, but not just the actual number, what we in the end see on our bank account, but even the numbers in our own head. So, for example, women have much lower thresholds to what we consider a satisfying or dissatisfying salary. Now, of course, many workplaces start to pay more attention to these types of issues, but oftentimes the progress is slow, and for some, it even feels like a mere compliance exercise rather than a true change of heart. And so what many women are left with is a cycle of frustration. We often come with a new resume into our new role that includes many credentials and extra miles and successes, which then helps us to land a new job. And ideally, it is a dream position where we can add value to the company, but also be challenged and learn and grow a lot. Then we go through sort of a honeymoon phase, maybe for about 6 months. And during that phase, we often, at least that's what I find for myself and my clients, we oscillate between feeling a bit insecure and overwhelmed on one hand side because everything is so new and we're learning so much, but at the same time, we're really thrilled with the seemingly endless possibilities that we have, and we're so motivated. Only to find out a few months in that this company is just as normal as all the others, with politics, strategy changes, personal agendas, and oftentimes a profit orientation that tends to deprioritize investment in people. And in those moments, it seems like the only way to improve our situation is to write a new resume and start this all over again by finding a new employer. And that is what I thought too, until I have discovered an alternative for myself. So believe me, I've been there, feeling overlooked in one job and bored out in another, and thinking the only way out of this is to leave my company and go external. However, what I managed to do or to learn through all of these tough lessons is that I can change that cycle for myself by focusing on building new skills, not just the technical skills, but I'm going to talk about which ones. Creating fans in the company where I exist. And through that, I created a network of fans basically that had new opportunities for me coming at me left, right, and center. So much so that people started knocking on my door all of the time, asking me to be on their projects and to join their teams. And I could basically pick and choose the opportunity that I liked the most. At one time, I even wrote the job description myself. It's like I saw the need for a certain position. I knew I wanted to do this. I said, okay, here's what I can do. And then we went on from there. And that is what I want for you too. So I want you to be asked to do more of what you love by taking matters into your own hands right now, instead of waiting for companies to change, because we still have a long way to go there. Actually, I looked up the gender gap report this morning from 2020, and it says in Western Europe, and Western Europe is like one of the most advanced regions in terms of gender equality at work, but still we have 54 more years to go if we continue at the current rate until we have actually achieved that equality. And then all of the other regions around the world, they're way worse, some even over 100 years. So who has time for that? Yes. Of course, taking matter into our own hands is no guarantee for success, because there are so many other factors at play when it comes to, you know, getting promotions and things like this. But I think it still beats the hell out of just sitting there, crossing our fingers, hoping for the best and staying frustrated because nothing happens. But instead, if we really start to take a different route than simply just revamping our resume, is that we get more recognition from others, we get to participate in new projects, and we get more responsibilities. This even comes with new positions and promotions, and that is just the external factors. What I find even more interesting or even more valuable are what happens inside of us. So we start to feel more confident, we're much more engaged at work and with others at work. We feel like we really belong where we work, and we start to make a bigger impact. So if you only take one thing away from today, I would like it to be this. I want you to start building your reputation in your company so that you have new opportunities for yourself popping up like mushrooms, and you can choose to seize the ones that bring you greater career fulfillment. Because in the end, we all want to do work that we love with the people we like the way we want. And how can we do this? I want to share with you 3 strategies that if you pursue them at the same time, and it's nothing dramatic, it's just small, consistent action in each of these strategies, that basically brings about this result. So let me illustrate these 3 strategies. Using a conversation I had with a client recently. So we started working together, and in the first session, we said, okay, let's set your goal and determine what are the overall strategies that you're going to pursue. And she said, okay, what I really want to achieve is I want to move the topics forward that are important to me. I said, okay, how are you going to do this? Name me 3 things. And she said, okay, first, I want to build a clear positioning within the company. Second, I want to be connected with the right people. And third, I want to get others enthusiastic about my ideas. And each of these things that she mentioned, they fit so nicely into my 3C framework, is what I call it, which is basically credibility, connection, and communication. And we're going to talk about each of these now to give you a little bit more idea to just how you can start to build your credibility, increase your connections, and improve your communication at work, so you have those opportunities coming up. And I'm just going to quickly check the chat. It's like, yeah, everybody's shocked by the by the pay gap. Absolutely, Joe. This is it's a ridiculous number. Okay, so let's start talking about credibility. So you may think that credibility is something very external and outer thing. So how others perceive you and what others think of you. That is true, but it's only the second step, the way I see it. Because first we really need to build credibility with ourselves. Because how can we be convincing to others if we don't even believe, in ourselves, so to speak? So this credibility that I'm talking about really comes from knowing who you are, what you're capable of, and what you want, and then sharing that with others in a way that makes it relevant to them. But it always starts with you first. So let me illustrate that with a little example from a client of mine. Let's call her Flora. And Flora, when we first met, she was frustrated, but she didn't know exactly why. She knew she was able to do good quality work, but didn't know how to talk about her strengths and ability. And she didn't know what to answer if someone asked her why she wants to have a leadership position. You see, she has a PhD in chemistry and she works in the chemical industry. So you're kind of like by default on a leadership track. But whenever it came to the conversation, she just didn't know like really what to say and if she even wanted it. So the majority of our work together really focused on finding out what gives her a sense of purpose at work, to identify her strengths and aspirations, formulate a clear goal for her next career step, and then go out and talk about this to others, to her boss, to her new boss, all of these good things. So in the end, Flora now knows a lot more about herself, and she knows she can change and adjust if she wants to, and she found that really liberating. She also said, I feel more confident and more able to argue for me, my way of working, and what I want to achieve. So you can see there's real magic in starting to build that credibility with yourself first and getting real good clarity about who you are and what you want. And that is a really good foundation for you to then go out and talk to others. So to make it even more specific, and you can take a screenshot of this if you like, this self-knowledge really encompasses your strengths, quirks, and uniqueness, your passions, interests, and purpose, and your aspirations. There are also two mindsets that I really would like you to, nurture in yourself. One is the growth mindset, and the other one is practicing self-compassion, because none of these changes will happen overnight, and we really need both of these to not be too hard on ourselves when we sometimes fall short of our own expectations. And then the third element to really build expert credibility is positioning. So really, when you talk to others about yourself and your work and what you want to do, how can you share that with them in a way that makes it relevant to them? Okay, so this is all about expert credibility. Moving on to connection. You see, connection with the right people really makes sure you get more visible in your company. And this is one type of feedback that many women in STEM get from their managers or from their colleagues. So you're just not visible enough. And you can think of this being a little bit like a spider's web. So where this spider's web catches tons of flies, in the same way, visibility catches you new opportunities, like all on its own. In fact, a mentor of mine always used to say maximum visibility equals maximum opportunity, because people will then remember you and they will want to work with you more often if you build good connections. They will rave about you even when you're not in the room, and they will recommend you to be part of projects or to be considered for promotions. In fact, according to Harvey Coleman's book, Empowering Yourself, the Organizational Game Revealed, 60% of your success at work is attributed to what he calls exposure, but basically is visibility. So how do you get more visible at work? So first of all, you need to know your people. So when it comes to you as a person, who are your supporters and advocates? And when it comes to your projects and ideas that you want to move forward, who are your influencers and your challenges that you still need to convince? And then once you have that map, you can go out and start building those relationships by making new connections or nurturing the bonds you already have. And the third element here is really my favorite way of non-sleazy to have a non-sleazy way of increasing your visibility, and that is having everyday micro moments, positive micro moments of connection with the people you're just naturally, organically interacting with because you're working together. And again, I brought you an example from a client. Let's call her Lisa this time. So when we started working together, she was struggling to find meaning in what she was doing. It's like, why am I even opening up the laptop every day? She had a good technical knowledge and skills, but found it really difficult to feel motivated and valued. And all of that was impacting her confidence in her own abilities. And then she ended up worrying, okay, how are others even perceiving me? So once we started working together, we first helped her identify how she can better value her role herself, and then find ways to engage with senior managers and begin collaborations with her peers in a way that felt, natural to her and authentic. And she built the self-representation skills to be top of mind and to be considered for new opportunities. All of this within 3 months, and 3 months is not a long time, but anyways, within 3 months, she received 3 separate pieces of unsolicited feedback from other managers saying how impressed they were with how she showed up. She felt much more confident to express her views to senior management, and she had even other people approach her to mentor them. And then when I checked in with her a few months later, because her department is restructuring, she feels that she's now in a prime position to really choose the best spot for her when the new strategy is revealed. So remember this: maximum visibility equals maximum opportunity. And yes, you can do that in a way that feels authentic to you. Okay, I'm just gonna check the chat for a moment just to see if there are any questions. Not yet. Okay, so now we talked about expert credibility. We talked about connection and how this increases your visibility. Now you think, okay, it's like I have now the confidence, I'm in the right room with the right people. I can now just share my ideas and everything will be peachy and they will be acted on. Only to find that after you share all of your points and you leave the meeting and then nothing. And you feel either disappointed by the lack of engagement or enthusiasm of others, or you feel puzzled by the tons of scrutinizing questions that you get, or you're outright frustrated because absolutely nothing happens, even though everybody said, yes, this is important. So it is as if you are talking into a void, and that is where that third pillar comes in, which is communication. And here the trick is really to know what to say and how to say it to really make an impact. There are tons of books that have been written about communication, and I'm sure there are plenty good courses. And what I find, though, is when I'm working with all of my different clients, is that the best way to improve your communication is to constantly reflect on what works and what needs to change, and then make those adjustments accordingly. All too often, though, we don't know how to improve, or we try to solve the wrong problem. And that is the moment when getting the help from someone outside of us, meaning it could be a coach, it could be a mentor, or if your boss is really good at this, then they could help to really help you identify what it actually is that you need to improve about your communication to be more impactful. And just to illustrate that with another 3 of my clients, so let's talk about Stephanie for a moment, because she has been told that she communicates well in a corporate environment. She gives stellar presentations, she writes thorough emails, and she has excellent summaries for meetings. However, she noticed something isn't landing, and so she just fails to inspire people and take them along with her on the journey. So she doesn't need to learn how to give a proper presentation. She needs to learn how to tune into her audience and make sure to make that connection while she's communicating so people come along with her. Completely different situation for Lioba, because she came to me saying, okay, I think my English isn't good enough, or maybe I talk too fast and that's why people don't get what I'm saying. But truly, when we looked in more depth into how she communicates, we found out that often she just really isn't clear about what her point actually is, and that her message lacks the structure that makes it more digestible for her audience. So as you can see, a communication problem, but it needs a completely different approach to make it more effective. And lastly, Fiona. So she kept using the same presentation to pitch for support for her team and for her ideas, but she didn't get much interest in the subject. So she now needs to learn, and we're working on a complete strategy for her to tailor the message to each of the audience that she's speaking to and find ways to repeat the message often without being repetitive about it. So you can see plenty of ways to improve your communication, but when you find out what is the right problem to solve about it, that is when you reap all of the benefits, like the trust that you build, you improve your relationships, you avoid misunderstandings, and just imagine how much time that would save you. Resolving conflict, you're really becoming a recognized expert. You get more endorsement for your ideas, and with that, you will have a bigger impact. So yeah, and it's absolutely no shame if you need outside help with this, because we can't read the label when we're the genie in the bottle. So with communication, it's always good to ask for feedback or get the support of experts in this. But to help you with getting started, I really want to share with you 2 things that you should never forget when you structure and prepare your communication. The first element is to deliver your message well, meaning you need to know your audience. You need to be really clear for yourself what is your goal with that communication. You need to make your point concisely and then speak with conviction. And then the second bit to never forget is that it's never a one-off. So instead of thinking I'm going to give this presentation and then I'm going to be done with it, really go in prepared that you need a full communication strategy. That's not always presentation, but find different ways and channels to engage with the different people that you need to convince. And in that way, you can then spark the change that you want and inspire action in others. Okay, I love to geek out about these topics forever, but unfortunately, we only have 20 minutes today. And these are soon over, and I want to make sure I have time for your questions. So let me quickly summarize what we have learned today. And yeah, let me just summarize. So remember, my wish for you is that you just break that cycle of frustration and create more opportunities for yourself so you can really pick and choose the ones that you like the most. I want other people to come to you and ask you to do more of what you love with the people you like the way you want. And you really only need 3 things for this: expert credibility, connection and visibility, and the right communication for a bigger impact. And if you want me alongside on your journey, then you can come and find me on LinkedIn. You can join my next masterclass series called Women in STEM Reimagined. It's coming up in September. It's free to join and it's going to be awesome. And you can also work with me privately if you choose to. And yeah, you can just send me an email there. Because listen, life's too short to spend most of it unmotivated and frustrated at work. And your skills and strengths and your drive are too valuable to be wasted. And so that is why I really want you to stop waiting for empowerment by your company and step into the power that you already have and create that positive change for yourself. And that is what I wanted to share with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions and join your conversation. Oh yeah, Joe. Joe was actually part of the first season of Women in STEM Reimagined, which was really, as a guest expert, was really awesome. Okay, if you have any questions or other comments, thank you so much definitely for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and if other questions come to you later on, then just you know where to find me. Have a good day.